On behalf of the DeSantis campaign, on behalf of Governor Reynolds and her staff, and the Clayton County Republicans, I'd like to thank everybody for coming this afternoon. We're going to start with a couple things we do at every meeting we have, and the first thing is a prayer, which will be read by our county chairman, Joe Zurcher.
All right, first off, thank you for attending this event. It's very important. So bow our heads and let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon our nation and its chosen leaders. We especially thank you for the leaders that we have with us today who govern in a fair and just manner. We also thank you for the opportunity and the privilege that we value to participate in the selection of a Republican nominee for president. We ask that your presence be felt as we discuss the important issues confronting our nation, and that with your guidance, we use the words spoken at this gathering in a positive and worthwhile manner, and most importantly, we acknowledge that all truth, righteousness, power, and authority come from you and your Son, in whom name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? The pledge will be led by Bill Zittergreen, Vietnam veteran, Brad Scharf, the Desert Storm. Come on up here, guys. Thank you. Well, when you have a function like this, you need a host. And I think we found a pretty good one, Mr. John Moyna with Moyna Construction, and he's going to say a few words, and then he will introduce Governor Reynolds.
You guys, welcome to Elkader, all right? One of the greatest places in the whole nation, okay? Yes. A couple of interesting things. We've, at Moyna Construction, we've gone to some other states to go after contracts and work. And Governor DeSantis, we're kind of doing all your dirty work in Florida for you, okay? And when I say C-43, one of the largest excavation jobs in the country going on, and your water quality work is extremely dedicated in the Florida market. A2, it's a 7,500 acre project for the Everglades, and you guys just mega projects. But the machines that you see sitting here, per capita, the city of Elkader has more engineers than any place in the world. Okay, we have over 20 engineers that work out of Elkader. And we have 1,000 people. So it's pretty neat how Governor Reynolds, we have the right economic forum that we can build our business. The machines that you're looking at here, they'll go to Ring Power, one of your Caterpillar dealers in Florida. We have machines, we're a global company. We have machines in Antarctica, Australia, Germany, Japan. So it's when you have a little nest of people and you can tap into everybody's brain power, it's unbelievable the things you can do. But Doug told me during the introduction for the governor that I was supposed to keep it short. So what I did, I got to thinking if I could do it in 5 words or less. That sound good? Now the problem, each word is a half hour, okay? But, okay, so I'd like to, you guys, we have a thing here called the inner circle. And once you come here, you're on the inner circle. And once you're in the inner circle, you can't get out, okay? So do you guys understand that, Governor? And the circle goes faster and faster, okay? So you have to be part of, in an inner circle, you help each other out. And that's what we're all about, okay, with our inner circle. And I've got the 5 C's, Governor Reynolds, Governor DeSantis. This applies to both of you, okay? But caring's my first word. Both of you guys care about the people of the country. And that's a value that we relish in the town of Elkader, right? The second one is commitment. When you guys go after something, you don't take the easy road. At CJ Moyna or MTS, we never take the easy road. We take the right road. And you guys are really, really special with doing that in your career paths and your lives and stuff. The third one is church. It's not about building tractors or building scrapers. It's about you guys. And you have to, as a business, you have to take care of your people in all sorts of ways that, in from a government aspect, both of you guys do an excellent job taking care of your people, okay? So the aspect of the fourth 5C would be community. You have to have a strong community and look out for everybody, and just make where you live a better place for everybody. If you guys can wake up every morning and just make it better for somebody else, it's unbelievable the atmosphere that you produce and the things you can do as a team with that. And the fifth one being country. You guys believe in the country. You work hard to make sure the country's right. And I don't know if that's with everybody today. There's a lot of people that take everything that's here for granted. In all the the service guys that were up here, yourself, Governor DeSantis with the military, there's a commitment to country, and you guys have that. So I'd like to introduce a very, very special lady. She's magical, okay, and she gets things done. And I'll give you the mic, okay.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Yay! Well, John, thank you for that nice introduction. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate you. And we want to just say thank you for investing in this state and continuing to grow. We appreciate that for hiring Iowans and for investing in the community. We just can't say thank you enough, except for that we're going to keep making the environment better and better so you can keep growing and expanding and bringing more people to the state of Iowa. So we want to continue to be a partner with you, so thanks for all you're doing. And I guess this is the first event that's been held in your new facility, right? So we're happy that we got to break it in, so thank you for that. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for being here. Wow, this is incredible. Thanks for caring about our state. Thank you for caring about this country. I want to tell you, it truly, truly matters. And it's this kind of engagement, it's this kind of showing up. That's how we're going to win on January 15th, to get the right leader elected. And that's how we're going to win this next election in 2024. It's not going to be the media. It is not going to be the national polls. It's going to be each and every one of you showing up on January 15th and showing them why Iowa is the first in the nation caucus, because we're going to get it right and we're going to make a difference, because we're going to elect somebody that's going to get this country back on track. And I want to tell you, yes, we're going to do it. We're going to do it in Iowa. We're going to do it with Ron DeSantis. This country is in trouble. It is unconscionable and just insanity what we've seen from this administration in the last 3 years. And it's got to stop. And all you have to do is point to the border and see. Right now, I think there's a caravan, about 15,000 plus, that are heading towards the border that are about to invade the country. It is unconscionable and a dereliction of duty that this president hasn't protected the sovereignty of this country, and most importantly, the citizens in it. And that it's ridiculous. It is insanity. And that's why January 15th is so important. And that's why not only do we have to elect somebody that can win, but we have to elect, you heard John talk about it, somebody that has the skill and the resolve to reverse the madness that we've seen under the Biden administration. That person is Ron DeSantis. We need somebody that's focused on the future and not the past. We need somebody who has followed through with what he said he would do, 100% of the promises made. We need somebody that puts America first and not himself. And without a doubt, that is Ron DeSantis. He is bold, he is disciplined, and he is principled. You're not going to see some liberal corporations buying him out because he's nobody's puppet. He's going to do the right thing even when the right thing is really, really hard. And yeah, it's not easy. Look at his record. Look at his record. You know, and one of the things I've always admired about him, and I'm going to steal his speech, it's really awful when the person before you talks about everything that you want to talk about. But one thing that I've always admired about Ron, and it's from a governor's perspective, is he gets things done. It's just incredible. And it's not little things, it's big things. From the way he handled COVID to backing parents and law enforcement to cutting taxes to keeping spending in check to actually reducing the debt. He's going to talk about that. Now, I want you to raise your hand if you think that that's 3 things that we could use in Washington, D.C., right? Yes, he will do it. This is a guy that when a hurricane hit the state, now think about that. We had a derecho, we have tornadoes, we've dealt with Mother Nature. He built a bridge, cut through the red tape and bureaucracy, and built a bridge in 3 days. So when Governor DeSantis, when he says, I'm going to build a wall and I'm going to make Mexico pay for it, he's going to build a wall and he's going to make Mexico pay for it. Yes, he's going to stop the insanity. He is the most effective leader that I have seen in a long, long time. I'm going to say that one more time because, as John said, there's a lot of elected officials that have disappointed us, and we need somebody that has a servant's heart, that believes in this country and the goodness of it, that believes it can be restored, and that we can not only restore its greatness, but we can excel. Somebody that can serve for 2 terms and make that happen. And that person is Ron DeSantis. And I just want to say, if you like what we've done in Iowa, then you're going to love his vision for this country. I am so proud and honored to have endorsed Governor DeSantis for president, and I am going to do everything I can. With your help, we can really lead America's comeback. It will start on January 15th. It'll start right here in Iowa. So first of all, I need you to caucus. We need you to caucus for Ron DeSantis. Please join me in welcoming the next president of the United States, Governor Ron DeSantis.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have something that is being, is it presented or what do we got? Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. Special delivery.
You guys, we had a little issue. UPS showed up here this morning, and can you tell me who that was supposed to be for?
What? Santa Claus.
You guys, there's presents from UPS for Santa Claus. Something had to go really wrong, right? Let's take a look. Why don't you grab this one here? Oh, just a second. It's not Santa Claus. It says DeSanta. So maybe they shipped this here wrong, but here's, and Governor, here's a little something for you. And you guys, if you want to open those, yeah, rip them open. And if you look to your left, you might see it. Okay, so yeah.
I got some young kids that'll like that.
Yeah, see, guys, these are really, really special. So cherish them, and yeah, someday you'll see them on the road. So thank you.
Well, I've got young kids that are going to love this, so thank you very much. We appreciate it. You got that? Yeah. All righty. Oh, good. Okay, great. Well, thank you. Thank you all for coming. We're excited to be here. You know, one of the things we were able to do over the course of campaigning in Iowa was, just as a guy that grew up playing baseball all the way through college, I remember being a kid watching this movie about them building a baseball field in the middle of the cornfield, the Field of Dreams. And when we were started coming up to Iowa, I would show my young kids. So we have a first grader, kindergartner, and pre-K 3, and I would start showing them like the appropriate parts of the movie, the baseball players coming out of the cornfield, all the other stuff, doing that. And we eventually got to do an event at the Field of Dreams in Dyersville, which was really cool. My kids got to play and everything. But I remember being at the Clayton County Fair, and we had some time before the bus left to the next stop. And so my son, who's 5, had his baseball glove and stuff. So we're just out there by the corn. We're just playing catch back and forth, kind of father and son. And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, "Dad, is this heaven?" And I said, "No, son, it's Iowa." Now he knows what to say. So sometimes when we're up here by the corn, I will say him. I'll say, "Mason, is this heaven?" He's like, "No, Dad, this is Iowa." You know that. So we're excited to be here. We're excited to be in the home stretch for the Iowa caucus. I want to thank Governor Reynolds for her support. As the governor of Florida, I have a unique window in what goes on in this country. Because every time one of these blue states does something stupid, I gain more residents in my state. People flee Chicago, they flee Los Angeles, they flee New York, they flee Minnesota because the policies are destructive and their quality of life diminishes, their freedom diminishes, and Florida has really been the refuge that people have escaped to. So I talk to people when they come. And they talk about how dysfunctional Illinois is. They talk about how bad California is. When I'm in Bonita Springs or Marco Island in the wintertime and I meet Iowans who are on vacation, spending part of the year, they're very happy with how Iowa's governed. They're very happy to have Governor Reynolds and the legislature do such a great job. And I see that personally, dealing with people just from the Midwest, how they view Iowa. So you're lucky to have a very strong and effective governor. She's delivered huge results for this state. And clearly, as you look around this region, Illinois, Minnesota, look at your neighbors. You're lucky to have the governor that you have here in Iowa. I can tell you that. Now, Iowa's the first caucus contest, of course. We also then do, New Hampshire's the first overall primary, and then South Carolina's the first in the South primary. And I actually have a supporter of mine from South Carolina that I want to welcome up here. He's a member of the South Carolina State Senate, Josh Kimbrell, and he can basically talk about South Carolina, red state, what they've done in terms of Florida leading and providing inspiration. So he's come to Iowa to campaign yesterday and today, and he's going to say a few words to y'all.
Well, you're here to see Ron DeSantis, not me, but let me just tell you, there's a reason why a South Carolina senator has flown to Iowa, and it's not just because it snowed yesterday, okay? I came here to support the next president of the United States, and it's not going to be Nikki Haley. It's going to be Ron DeSantis. Now, I've tried to make clear to people, it's not personal. I don't have anything against Nikki personally. I've known the former governor of my state for a while. But during this campaign season, there's a lot of fiction going around out there that she somehow made South Carolina a deep red state. Well, the reality is we were a red state before Governor Haley, and we're redder after Governor Haley. And we're redder because of the work of Ron DeSantis in Florida than the work of Nikki Haley in South Carolina. Because whenever she ran for governor in 2010, she talked about she was going to pass school choice. And then after she got elected, nothing ever changed. We never passed school choice. She ran in 2010 saying she wanted to cut taxes. Never cut taxes. We passed the largest tax cut in South Carolina history just last year. She talked about parental rights. None of that happened until Ron DeSantis did it in Florida, and we followed suit in South Carolina. Heck, when she was governor of South Carolina, she opened up a recruiting office for the Department of Commerce in Shanghai that we had to shut down after she left office. So the reality is, if you want a rock road conservative that's going to put America first, respectfully, it's not the 45th president of the United States. It's not the 116th governor of South Carolina. It's the governor of Florida. I'm not going to get invited to Nikki's Christmas party next year. But someone asked me, I had some of the Governor Haley's people were kind of saying, well, Senator Kimbrell only has a problem because he doesn't support a strong female executive to run the state or the country. Let me be clear, that's not true. If Kim Reynolds were the governor of South Carolina, I'd have a Kim Reynolds tattoo. So it's about standing for somebody, regardless of their gender, their race, their background, who's going to fight for you and fight for America. Because we're in a moment where China is the greatest threat to the country we have seen in our lifetime. And this man is the only person running for president who knows how to stand up to them. So I'm going to give the mic back to the governor, but I want you all to know from a South Carolina senator, I hope that you're going to get it right January 15th. I know you are. I like to brag that we're first in the South in South Carolina. Y'all are first in the country, okay? I'll just bow to the greatness, but only if you get it right with Ron DeSantis. So y'all get it started here. We'll finish the job in South Carolina and send this man to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Well, thank you so much. So I'm running for president because as the father of a first grader, kindergartner, and pre-K3, I see this country and this generation being in jeopardy of being the first generation of Americans to turn over to our kids and grandkids in America less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. Now, this is not something that is inevitable. This is something that's a choice. We have it within our capacity to choose a different course. I am not going to sit idly by and watch the managed decline of this country. I am not going to sit idly by and watch our cities crumble, our border be overrun, and our military be weakened. We're going to do something about it. We're going to reverse the decline of this country. We're going to give all 50 states a new birth of freedom, and we're going to usher in a revival of the American spirit. We've shown how to do it in the state of Florida. We'll be able to do that in Washington, D.C. First, you need a president that's going to fight for you. And a lot of these Republicans won't even do that. They get up to Washington and they cave to the Democrats and the media, and the Democrats win issue after issue. It's not how it's worked in Florida. I've stood and fought for people, whether that's standing against Fauci and making sure kids were in school and our businesses were open during COVID, whether that's standing against companies like Disney and ensuring our schools were not sexualizing the curriculum in elementary school. We have stood strong and fought for people when it matters most. And if you're not willing to do that, then don't even bother signing up for this, because nothing is going to come easy with what's going on in this country. You got to be willing to dig in. You got to be willing to fight for people, particularly when it's not easy. But you also have to be able to win these fights. And yes, win the election. And Republicans outside of Iowa, Florida, a handful of other states have not been winning very many elections recently. I was able to win the biggest election victory that any Republicans ever won in the entire history of the state of Florida in 2022 in our governor's race. And we did that not by embracing pale pastels, but by governing in bold colors. We were taking strong positions. We were delivering big-time results for people. And voters who never voted for a Republican in their lives responded and voted for us in record numbers. That's what we need across this country. You know, we've been barely scraping by in election after election nationally for so long. We need to start winning again, and we will do that. But more importantly than that, when you get into office, you need to win these victories. I'm the only one running for president that 100% of the things I've promised my folks I would do, I delivered on 100% of what I promised I would do. And if you look at the people responsible for the open border, if you look at the people responsible for the crime in the cities, you look at the people responsible for the inflation, all the things that we've seen on the political left and the damage they've done, I'm the only one running for president that has beat these people time and time again in the state of Florida. Yes, we beat Fauci on COVID. We beat people like George Soros on crime by removing some of these lawless prosecutors who were in place and ignoring the law. We, of course, beat folks who were trying to sexualize the curriculum, big woke companies and others, and we protected the rights of parents in the state of Florida. We were able to beat the Democrats on election integrity. We have universal voter ID, no ballot harvesting. We do it right. We count the votes on Election Day and actually produce the result. And so we've shown how to do it on that. We beat the left on banning China from purchasing land in the state of Florida, which is a big, big problem. So we have fought and we have won for the people of our state. And that's what we need as Republicans. We need to win these fights. You know, you have a situation in our country now where the left, they're not just trying to advance their agenda through legislative chambers and in the U.S. Congress. You know, they're trying to advance their agenda through universities, through bureaucracies, through corporations now with this ESG. You know, I see some of the folks, I saw some guys from the cattlemen, I see our pork producers. You know, this whole ESG, they want to target agriculture. They think agriculture is like the big problem in terms of global warming. They want to have California be able to tell people in Iowa how they should be producing pork. That is unacceptable. So you've got to stand up against things like ESG. You got to stand up against woke corporations who are trying to impose an agenda on our country without our consent. And in some ways, it's even more significant because if people that you elect want to do dumb things, you can vote them out of office. Nobody elected BlackRock for anything. Nobody elected these big corporations to target agriculture and to target other things. They're just doing that and they're wielding power. In Florida, we kneecapped ESG. We banned it from our pension fund. We made sure that they're not able to do things like social credit scores. But these are battles that we have to fight and win nationally. And I can tell you this, we are going to win these battles. We're going to be there for agriculture, I can tell you that. We also need somebody who can lead. And leadership is, you know, it's not entertainment. Leadership is not about producing a show. It's not about generating clicks on social media. What leadership is about is articulating a vision for the direction you want to take the country, delivering on that vision and producing results that'll have a lasting impact on the people that elected you to office. And that's what I've done in Florida, and that's what I'll do as president. Every single day, when I get out of bed, people are shooting at me as governor and as a presidential candidate. As president, of course, they're going to come after you. The bureaucrats aren't going to want to give up their power. The media is not going to want to see conservative policies. The left's going to come loaded for bear. Every single day, they're trying to push you off your game. You got to have that compass set to true north. You got to know why you got elected, and you can't be diverted from doing what is right for the people that you represent. So we will bring the type of leadership that this country is currently lacking, and it's not about me. I'm not running on my issues. I'm running for you. I'm running for your family, and I'm running for this country. I'm the vessel as a leader to be able to make decisions and to be able to articulate that vision. But ultimately, you need a cadre of people surrounding you. You got to go into office with a sense of humility, knowing you can't do it all about yourself. But it's not about me. It's about the future of this country. And so I understand that. I have that frame of mind, and we're going to be able to make better decisions as a result. And look, we know what we need to do to be able to turn this country around. One of the ways I think about it is I can sit here and promise you this, that, or the other thing. Now, I do have a record of delivering on promises, but everyone kind of does that. Better way for me to think about it is, okay, get elected in 24, re-elected in 28. When you're leaving office 8 years from now, almost 8 years from now, 9 years from now, what am I going to be able to tell you we actually accomplished? That's really what matters. And I think we're going to be able to say a number of things. One, we're going to be able to say that we restored the American dream in this country, that the people that work hard are trying to raise families, that they're able to get ahead again, and they're not going to be battered down with high prices and high interest rates, by overbearing bureaucracy, by a Congress that's borrowing and printing and spending so much money and mortgaging our future and our children's future. No, we will have restored opportunity in this country. We're also going to be able to say that we've restored the sovereignty of our country. No more Mexican drug cartels overrunning our border. No more illegal aliens pouring into this country by the millions. We're going to put a stop to it. We're going to build a border wall. We're going to deport the people that are here illegally, and we are going to hold the Mexican drug cartels accountable for the carnage that they've unleashed on this country with the fentanyl epidemic killing tens of thousands of Americans each and every year. We're also going to be able to say that we have restored the U.S. military to its proper glory. I'm the only veteran that's running for President of the United States. And I understand the importance of having strong recruiting, having a strong culture in the military. We cannot allow the military to be used for political purposes or for social engineering. The only thing that matters is accomplishing the mission. And when I become Commander-in-Chief, we will restore the military to its proper function, which is mission first, and making sure people are promoted based on merit and achievement, and not for any other political agenda. But we will revitalize the military, strengthen our defenses, so that we can fend off the threat posed by the Chinese Communist Party. We'll be able to tell you that the 21st century is not going to be a Chinese century, it's going to be an American century, and that's going to be good for our kids and grandkids. I'm also going to be able to tell you that schools in this country are focusing on educating kids, not indoctrinating kids. We are going to protect the rights of parents to direct the education and upbringing of their kids. We're going to make sure that curriculum is appropriate and that agendas are not being pushed on our kids. And we're going to make sure that young people learn what it means to be an American. They learn about the founding principles of this country. They learn about our Constitution, so that when we're graduating kids from our school system, they're not just blank slates, that they have a foundation of what it means to be a citizen of a republic. And we are going to make sure that colleges and universities are not indoctrination camps, that they are following traditional mission of universities to pursue truth. We're also going to be able to say that whether you live in a red state or a blue city, criminals are held accountable for their crimes in this country. We're not letting inmates run the asylum. We're not letting rogue prosecutors let people on the loose and refuse to enforce the law. From sea to shining sea, Americans have a right to live and raise their families in peace and security. We will have restored the rule of law in this country. And then finally, we'll be able to say that we restored the U.S. Constitution to its proper role as the centerpiece of our national life. That means a limited government that works alongside us, not an unaccountable bureaucracy that imposes its will on us, is weaponized against us, and governs us without our consent. We will have restored this government to its rightful owners, we, the American people. And we're going to be able to say we've done a lot more, but if we can just say we've accomplished those things, then we will be able to say that we've restored America to what President Reagan called a shining city on a hill, that we will in fact have turned her over to the next generation stronger and more prosperous than when we inherited it, and we will have done our duty as Americans to step up and defend freedom when it's at risk. And I'm motivated by having young kids and concern for the next generation, but I'm also motivated to run because I think we owe a debt of gratitude to previous generations who have fought for this country, who have sacrificed so that we could have opportunities as Americans. I would sometimes take a flight up to Washington, D.C. that would go into Reagan Airport and take a particular route that would take you flush parallel to the National Mall in Washington. And if you looked out the left side of the plane, you saw very close panoramic views of the Lincoln Memorial, the reflecting pool, the Washington Monument, other monuments, the beautiful U.S. Capitol building. And you feel a sense of pride as an American because those symbolize the principles and the ideals that have separated this country from other countries throughout human history. And when tourists would see it, they would love it. But I figured out after doing that trip a few times, the best monuments to this country's ideals are not found out of the left side of the plane on the nation's mall. Because if you looked out the other side of the plane, you looked over the Potomac River, you looked and saw a series of small nondescript monuments orderly arranged over the rolling hills of a place called Arlington National Cemetery. And it occurred to me then, and I believe now, you can have the best Constitution in the world, you can have the best Declaration of Independence in the world. These things do not run on autopilot. They require people to step up and defend freedom when it's at risk, and sometimes put on a uniform, risk your life, and even give the last full measure of devotion for service to this country. Now, we're not called upon to make sacrifices of that nature here in this political season, but what we are called upon to do is to preserve what George Washington called the sacred fire of liberty. This is a fire that burned in Independence Hall in 1776 when 56 men pledged their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor to establish a new nation conceived in liberty. It's a fire that burned at a cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, when our nation's first Republican president pledged this nation to a new birth of freedom. It's a fire that burned on the shores of Normandy, France, when a merry band of brothers stormed the shores, defeated the Nazis, and preserved liberty throughout the world. It's a fire that burned at the foot of the Berlin Wall in 1987, when a resolute Republican president stood in front of that wall and said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," and eventually led to the dissolution of the Soviet Union. This is our responsibility, to carry this torch and to preserve this sacred fire of liberty. It's not a responsibility I shy away from. It's a responsibility I welcome. It's a responsibility we should all welcome, to do our part to defend freedom when it's at risk. I'm asking for your support in the Iowa caucus on January 15th. Iowa can set the tone for the entire country with how you vote on January 15th in the caucus. I can tell you this, as the nominee of the party, I will get the job done. We'll win up and down the ballot just like we did in Florida. As a leader, I'll always conduct myself in a way that you can be proud of. And as your president, I promise you this, I will not let you down. Let's get it done. Thank you so much. God bless. I can take some questions, I think, if anyone has any. Thank you. Do we have any questions? We have time to take some questions? You have a question? Okay. I'll repeat it. Right. No, it's great. So basically, I think the root of the question was the fatherlessness crisis, how the nuclear family has been disfavored by a lot of government policies, and how really a successful country is going to be rooted in strong families. So what can be done about it? Well, I tell you what we've done in Florida. And my wife spearheaded this, she created a program called Hope Florida. And what it does is it recognizes that if someone comes in, it's not only a single mother, but a lot of the single mothers that come in and need assistance, to just give a government check and to just do that and create that kind of dependency, ultimately that's not going to put anyone on a pathway to self-sufficiency. So what she did was create, and I know Kim is working on this in Iowa, a care portal. And what this care portal does is it allows community stakeholders to be involved. So churches are plugged in, charities are plugged in, businesses are plugged in, individual volunteers are plugged in. So if you have, say, a mom that has 2 6-month-old twins that just got evicted from her apartment, she needs support. Instead of just putting all your faith in a government bureaucracy, those needs go out to all those stakeholders. And guess what happens? The churches will spring into action. Charities will spring into action. And once that happens, that mom very less likely to show back up for government assistance, because you have folks that care, you have people that are invested in the community and want to be able to help. Now, as part of that, I launched a fatherhood initiative. Part of it is to get dads involved, because you do have situations where the fathers aren't involved at all. And we did it partially as a result of working with some charities in Florida. One of them was called All Pro Dads. It was started by Tony Dungy, who was the coach of Tampa Bay and also the coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Great guy. And he started it because he tells the story that when he was the coach of Tampa, so he's a strong Christian, and he would go to prisons to minister to the prisoners. And what he said was when he would go to the prisons, he figured out that the prisoners were not there because they were poor, because of race, because of this. He said the prisoners were there 99% of the time because they didn't have a strong father in the home, and they didn't have that guidance and that mentorship there. So he's really pushed the fatherhood. So we're doing that. Some of it is getting the dads involved and providing resources for that. Others are to support mentorship opportunities. For example, when I was active duty in the Navy, I was a part of the Big Brother program. I mentored a young kid who grew up, his father was in prison. And, you know, he ended up getting older, and he joined the Navy, largely because of my mentorship, most likely. So this stuff does matter, and we're working hard in Florida across different ways to be able to do that. But if I could snap my finger and do any one thing to kind of help society, if you just said that, you know, every kid would grow up with strong families and a father in the home, that would solve a lot of the social problems that we see in this country. So it's very, very important. Yes. Yep. So the senator asked a question about one of the candidates running. It's Nikki Haley, that she is being supported by this company called BlackRock. So who knows what BlackRock is? Anyone know kind of what they're? So they're really the leaders behind this ESG movement, environment, social governance, and what they want to do as part of this movement is to use massive economic power to be able to advance policy agenda and social change, really totally outside the constitutional system, not through legislatures, just having corporations basically collude and try to push this agenda. So, for example, I mentioned a lot of this ESG movement has agriculture in the crosshairs. They don't want people eating meat. I can tell you, when I'm president, I'm not going to let anyone take away your meat. That's for sure. I mean, I couldn't subsist if I didn't have the good meat. So don't worry about that. But they blame, people that raise cattle. They blame this. They blame that. And so ultimately, they want to do a lot of really, really bad things that are going to hurt this country. They want to go after our energy production. Look. What they're trying to do by mandate things like electric vehicles, first of all, it's not going to work. People aren't buying them. People want to have standard automobiles, so it's going to bankrupt the car companies, but it's imposing these mandates. It makes things more expensive, and it's interesting because in California, they've done the mandate even more aggressive than what Biden's trying to do. So it hasn't taken effect yet, but they've put in place something that says the only car you can buy in California is going to be electric. If you want a new car, only electric is going to be your options. And so, one, that's not what people want. But the kicker on this is a couple days after they did that, they did an announcement. All electric vehicle owners in California, do not plug in your car. We do not have capacity on the electric grid. I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? So they want to kneecap reliable energy, but they want to force more people to have to do the electric grid. So it's kind of the worst of both worlds. That's why they have blackouts in California, and what you would end up having in this country is rolling blackouts, and you would not be able to depend on power the way we've been used to. So, we totally reject that in Florida. But this is a live movement. We've been able to push back a lot on it in Florida. And I know Iowa's doing the same, and some other states. Have you guys done anything against ESG in South Carolina? So you do see pushback, but these folks have got a lot of power, and all I can tell you this is we need a president that's going to be a change agent. We need somebody that's going to shake up Washington. We need somebody that is going to hold the swamp accountable. If you are a candidate like Nikki Haley, who is being supported by liberal executives on Wall Street, whether it's BlackRock, JP Morgan, all that, let's just understand, they are not supporting you because you're going to shake things up. They are supporting you because they think that they'll be able to control your decisions and that you'll be willing to bow to them when they want that stuff. And so for a guy like me, you know, I'm what they fear because they know not only are we not going to bow to them, we're going to take them on and we're going to win these battles against things like ESG. A 100%, yes, we will deport, of course. And we're going to revoke this parole. It's unconstitutional what he's doing. He's abusing this idea of parole. He's using parole to nullify the law, basically. That is not what that was there for. So we're going to reverse everything Biden has done in that field. And yes, 8 million people have come illegally, and you have to send back to their home country. So we're going to do that. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're never going to solve this problem. It's a great question. So the question was, you know, Trump failed to really drain the swamp or to uproot the bureaucracy. A couple things. One, I think he made a huge mistake. He kept a lot of these Obama holdovers in like the National Security Council. I can tell you when I'm president, day one, all the Biden people are gone. We are not keeping any Biden holdovers in these places. And yes, it's a difference of opinion. You want people that share your vision. That's important. But what those folks would do, those Obama holdovers, they would try to sabotage Trump's policy. They would try to say, he'd be on a phone call with the foreign leader and they'd leak it to the Washington Post. I mean, it was very destructive what they did. So you got to clean house 100%. You need to have all the personnel, the political appointees ready to go January of 2025, send them to the Senate, get them in place, because they're the ones that really carry out your agenda. Trump left all these positions vacant for a long time. So what ended up happening is if you don't have your appointees in, the career bureaucrats take over and that they end up running the show. You cannot let that happen. We're also going to be very aggressive at using Article 2 power to downsize the bureaucracy. In Florida, we have millions of more people than New York does, for example, and yet our budget is half the size of New York's budget, and we have the lowest percentage of government bureaucrats to population in the entire country. And yet, when people move from New York to Florida, what do they tell me? You guys have better roads, better services, better education. So how are we able to do this with a small bureaucratic footprint and half the budget? It's because most of what government does is not necessary. Most of the bureaucracy is bloat. So you can reduce dramatically and not miss a beat on the core functions, and we need to do that. So reducing the size. You also have to reduce the scope of the bureaucracy. So even if you reduced it by, say, half, if they're getting involved in things they shouldn't, that's still a problem. So, for example, if a farmer has a puddle on their property, the EPA can't come in and say that's waters of the United States. And I know Supreme Court restricted that, but Biden's going to try to do more going forward. That is an abuse of government authority. So ensuring that they're operating within the proper constitutional sphere is important. If an FBI agent, for example, is surveilling parents going into school board meetings, I'm firing those people. If they're doing things to stifle dissent, I'm firing them. We're not going to put up with it. The reason you have a massive, unaccountable bureaucracy is because there hasn't been proper constitutional accountability over these agencies. And the Founding Fathers would have predicted this. Power accumulates and then it gets abused. unless there's proper checks and balances. So we have an obligation as president to come in, show that there's a new sheriff in town, and bring the administrative state to heel. And that's very, very important. It'll be a top priority for us. One more. Yes, sir.
Back to immigration. It's become apparent the law needs reform. As president, I would be interested in what type of reform you would see, and I'll give you my advice. We need to reform asylum, we need to reform chain migration, and we need to change birthright citizenship.
Great. So I agree with you. So one, we will abolish chain migration. We should not have chain migration. Now, look, an American citizen bringing in a foreign spouse, yes, but to bring in cousins and all that stuff, no, we're not going to do that. So we will do that. Yes, people that come illegally should not be entitled to birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment just by having a child on U.S. soil. That was not the intent of that. That'll be litigated, but we will do that and enforce that issue. That'll end up going to the Supreme Court, but I think we'll be able to win on that. And yes, the asylum, one, we're going to reinterpret the current interpretation because I don't think that was the intent. You can't just show up at the southern border from a neighboring country and just claim asylum and all of a sudden trigger this process. So remaining in Mexico, doing all those things, that should be the norm. But asylum is being abused. It's not just because America's a better country. It's supposed to be people are being persecuted, for their religion or their ethnicity or things, and that's just been a total disaster in terms of how that's been abused. Part of the reason it's been abused, and we're gonna hit this, NGOs, non-government organizations, some of these religious groups, nonprofits, so to speak, they make a fortune by bringing in migrants into this country from the federal government. So they actually orchestrate the movement of people while they're in these other countries and help facilitate them into this country. I did a grand jury investigation in Florida, and they identified their stuff. Catholic Charities, Lutheran Family Services, a lot of these groups that make money. I'm not funding these NGOs who are violating, trying to skirt our law. That is totally ridiculous. So yes, we will do that. But what we're also going to do, we're going to empower the states to enforce immigration law. If someone hops the Rio Grande, Texas should be able to send them back. It shouldn't trigger a whole federal process. Let's let the states get in there and help us. It'll be a force multiplier if they're able to do that. And then the other thing is yes, we see the massive people coming illegally across the border, but I don't think we should have mass immigration, period. Europe has allowed mass immigration. It doesn't work. Anyone nobody has a right to come to this country. You come to this country, and the test is, does it benefit the American people? And there are times when it does, but to bring people in like Europe has done that don't want to assimilate and reject the values of the country, that doesn't work. If you don't believe in America's values and principles and you don't want to assimilate into America, then you are not going to gain entry into America. And that's the way it should be. And we can't be politically correct about this. Well, thank you all. I'm asking for your support. If you've signed up for us, thank you. If you've not, we have cards where you can sign up. And for those who are supporting us, bring a neighbor, bring a family member, bring a coworker. It's really, really important. Ultimately, your voice is what matters. The media wants to act like that you don't even count, that they just determine everything. No, you count, and you have the ability to really shape the future of this country. So thank you for coming. God bless you. And let's go win this thing on January 15th.
Thank you, Governor. A couple closing comments. There are flowers on the table that Moynihan had purchased, and usually at the end of an event we give these away. Before anybody leaves, there is food over there, but we got to talk just a second. So the Governor DeSantis' birthday is September 14th. So whoever has the closest birthday gets the flowers, or you can divide them up, because I see that some tables have more than one or two, or more than one. And the vases stay.